Good evening, all respected doctors on this forum HSS. आज जैसे कि आप जानते हैं डॉक्टर श्रावंती मैम का केस है, चल रहा है सुबह से। HSS के लिए भी डॉक्टर श्रावंती मैम नई नहीं है, फिर भी जो नए हैं जिन्होंने केस आज ही पढ़ा है या जो रिसेंटली ज्वाइन हुए हैं लास्ट 10 to 15 डेज बिफोर, तो उनको बताता चलूँ कि डॉक्टर श्रावंती अलंकू इंडियन है और ये प्रैक्टिस स्विट्जरलैंड में करती है। ये क्लासिकल होम्योपैथ भी है, डिफरेंट अप्रोचेस से प्रैक्टिस करती है, डिफरेंट कंट्रीज में इनके पेशेंट्स हैं, तो काफ़ी अच्छा नॉलेज रखती है ये। इन्होंने शशिकांत सिंधे सर के साथ हमारी फर्स्ट बैच जो हुई थी सेंसेशन मेथड की, उसमें भी अच्छा खासा पार्टिसिपेट किया था। हमारे सारे वीसी में स्टूडेंट भी मौजूद हैं। फिर सर के साथ ये पीएम भी अच्छा रोल कर रही है, वहाँ से केसेस भी पीएम पर्सनल इवोल्यूशन मॉडल के जरिए भी अपनी केसेस सॉल्व करती हैं। ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ HSH organization team, I welcome you, ma'am. Please welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Hussain, for that warm welcome. Okay, so hello everybody, and thank you again for the warm welcome. So I will quickly read the case. So this is a case of a 22-month-old girl child who have not started talking yet. Following the mother's call for an advice, I sent her MCHART-R questionnaire. The score was 4. Given the score, I gave the MCHART-R follow-up test and the score was 2. With this, I referred the child to a pediatrician who diagnosed the child to be at low to medium risk of ASD. Mother wanted to start with homeopathic treatment. Now, the reason why I was giving this whole background is because by the time I started taking the case, I had an idea of all the symptoms, which were mostly the clinical symptoms, but also during the process of taking this questionnaire, I also had a good idea of the pregnancy history and all of that. So some of the questions that here I have asked, I have in fact gotten the information from that test. Now, for those of you who do not know the MCHART-R questionnaire, it is basically a screening test that can be given, that can be taken. It is actually available online freely. So it can be taken by anyone, and it can be taken by anyone, and the way it is formulated, it is a really good questionnaire. So if you have time, please go through it, because all the questions that are covered in that questionnaire will give you a beautiful insight as to how we look at autistic child, or how an autistic child is expected to develop or not develop. To be precise. So it is a really good questionnaire to go through. So the way this is scored is it has total of 20 questions, and if for the basic questionnaire the child scores more than 2, so anything between 3 and 7, you will have to give her a follow-up questionnaire. Now the follow-up questionnaire is more or less similar, but it needs to be done with some examples. So if the parent is saying yes, then the parent needs to give an example, and if the parent is saying no, or if they don't understand it, then the practitioner will give an example. So basically just to really evaluate if the mother or the caretaker has answered it correctly or not. So I had, because the child got the score of 4, and that basically means that we need to give a follow-up questionnaire. So I gave the follow-up questionnaire, and the child still scored a score of 2, and that means that she needs to be diagnosed. So I sent her off to the pediatrician, and from there the case started.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So this is the case. I will maybe try to make it a little bigger. Okay. So the case was taken on Telegram video call. The conversation was mostly in Telugu and English mixed. The child was playing in the background while I spoke to the mother. Doctor, does she say anything at all? Mother, no, she has no words that she speaks. When she doesn't like something, she screams. When she wants someone's attention, she comes, hits them, and goes. That is her way of asking us to look at her. So again, like I said, the mother did not give answers in such full big paragraphs, but I compiled it together to keep it short. Now, doctor, how is she with other people? Mother, it depends on who the other person is. There are 7 people, mother, father, both grandparents and mother's younger sister, that she goes to and has no problem with. But she doesn't want to do anything with anyone else. Doctor, does she allow others to hold her? Mother, no, no chance. She does not allow anyone else to touch her. Doctor, what does she do if someone else touches or holds her? Mother, screams, kicks, cries until they let her go. Doctor, she's okay for them to look at her? Mother, yes, she can be in the same room as many others as long as they don't bother her. She plays with her toys and is fine. Doctor, okay, does she understand when you speak amongst yourselves? Mother, I think she understands the gist of it, especially if there is a strong conversation. Like if my sister and I fight about something, she watches and then goes to the person who looks sad. Doctor, what kind of play does she like? Mother, her usual pattern is to play with her soft toys, pile them up and pull them down. But she also plays with other hard toys. Doctor, milestones? Mother, everything was on time other than the speech thing. Doctor, vaccination? Mother, all on time, the usual ones, no extra. Doctor, how is her health otherwise? Colds, fever, etc. Mother, some bouts of cold but never got out of hand. Last week she fell down from a chair and had a head injury and cried a lot. We took her to the pediatrician who suggested CT scan of brain. Reports came back normal. Doctor, what was there breakage of skin or oozing? Mother, yes, the skin broke. There was some blood, but I don't think I saw any oozing. Doctor, okay. How long was she breastfed? Mother, for around 17.5 months. Doctor, was it normal pregnancy? Mother, no, it was IUI. I had irregular periods for some months. We used contraception for 2 years, but then when we started trying, nothing happened. I also was gaining weight continuously since my marriage. I gained 20 kilos. My periods started being irregular. When we tried for 6 months and nothing happened, the doctor suggested IUI. It failed the first 3 times. That took 1 more year. Then we went to a different gynecologist who said she will try 1 more time, and that was successful. Doctor, was your period regular before? Mother, yes, in the beginning. But as I started gaining weight, menses were getting delayed once every 45 to 50 days, and even when it came, bleeding used to be scanty. I had been tested for all hormonal imbalances, especially for thyroid. They all always came back normal. They also made many abdominal scans, and there was no abnormality in uterus or ovaries. They said there was no PCOS or PCOD. My husband's tests also were all normal. Doctor, okay, how was your lifestyle since marriage? Mother, we were both working and living away from in-laws. It used to be very hectic, and we both liked to eat out, so we either used to get food delivered to us or go out regularly. Doctor, physical activity? Mother, before marriage, I used to do some yoga, but after getting the job, there was no time for anything. Doctor, how was the pregnancy? Mother, pregnancy was good. Everything went normal. Growth of baby was proper until the last month. Doctor, how was your emotional state during this time? Mother, my husband sent me to my parents' home when I was 3.5 months pregnant because due to workload, I was eating my meals, etc. So now this timeline is very important. So please keep this in mind. So he thought if I was with my parents, they will take care of me. But I missed him very much. And when I was 8 months pregnant, something happened that disturbed me a lot. Doctor, what was it? Mother, some financial investment failed. My husband kept telling me not to worry and take it easy, but I couldn't just let it go. Then I had strong fluctuations in blood pressure, and the doctor gave me some tablets to stabilize it. They took 3 to 4 BP readings every day, and until then the baby was gaining weight as expected, but then the baby stopped gaining weight. So the doctor suggested cesarean. Doctor, anything after birth? Mother, she had juvenile jaundice from second day, so they put her in box for 2 to 3 hours per day for 2 to 3 days. She reduced weight in this time. Doctor, tell me about her nature. How is she in general? Mother, she is good, just doesn't go to anyone easily. She plays by herself with her toys. Doctor, if she's refused something, how does she react? Mother, the same, screams, yells and cries. Doctor, is she clingy? Mother, no. As long as I am around, she doesn't ask for me that much. Doctor, what kind of things does she like? Mother, she likes it when we are outside. The other day, there was a banana cart and she played with bananas and she liked it a lot. Doctor, how does she express it when she likes something? Mother, she comes to me and kisses me. Doctor, what does she like to eat? Is there anything that she likes to eat repeatedly? Mother, she used to like idlis, but recently she had not been eating them. So here then I summarized a lot of clinical symptoms that I gathered from the interviews before and also during this interview. So this was just to be quick and concise. So some more information gathered. She played pretend games, climbed on things, made eye contact with the person speaking to her, pointed a finger at something to ask for help, and also if she wanted to share something that is of interest to her, the child also pointed the finger to show it to the caretaker. Now, child did not understand when given a command in ambiguous terms, but was able to understand most language. Child also had non-verbal challenges. There was frequent hand flapping and going round in circles. So this is end of the case. Okay. So then I then stop sharing. All right. So exactly. So that was the case. All right, so now let us just take one step back and analyze what do we have here. We have a almost 2-year child who hasn't spoken a word yet and who doesn't even seem to be interested in speaking anything. Okay, now we have history here, and for convenience sake, we can divide the history into two parts. One is after birth and the second is intrauterine, because the past history of such kind of infants is like most of it is also intrauterine, right? So let's look at what happened after birth. Now after birth, basically it was cesarean delivery and she was breastfed for an adequate period of time. No problems there. She was a reasonably well settled child. All the milestones were in time other than the speaking thing, and there was no particular ailments factor. There was nothing to say that she has been sick from this particular period. So yeah, there's not a never well since. That kind of ailment factor we do not find since birth. The child had like on and off colds and coughs, which is kind of to be expected for children. Now, for the nature of the child, she doesn't like to be held. She screams, yells, kicks until she gets what she wants, which is to be left alone. She allows 7 people in this world to hold her and to talk to her, and she's happy with them. And then she plays, and then other symptoms are also like she has eye contact. She does make eye contact with the others. There seems to be certain amount of non-verbal communication challenges, but mostly it is speaking that is the deficit. Okay. Now let us see what happened intrauterine. Now here we have some history. Now what happened with the parents? Firstly, they had it very difficult to conceive. Now ever since the marriage, the mother started gaining weight. The lifestyle was like a fixed lifestyle, non-mobile lifestyle. There was no exercising, lot of outside food, continuously gaining weight, and missing menses. The menses were delayed, and even when they came, it was scanty, and to the point where it was even being skipped. And then so they decided to go for IUI. The first 3 times it failed. The 4th time it sustained. Now, once the pregnancy started, there were 2 things that happened during the period of pregnancy. One is at 3.5 months. 3.5 months. Yes, the mother had been sent to her parents' home because everybody felt that it would be better. I mean, it would be in the best interests of her, because she was not taking care of herself because she was so immersed in her work that the husband thought it would be better if she is within her parents' care. So she was sent there, which she did not want. Ideally, she wanted to be in with her husband in her home, but yeah, I mean, it was everybody convinced her. Everybody, I mean, kind of very like nobody. She was treated with kid gloves all the time, very softly. She was told and kind of convinced, saying that the baby needs the care, you need to eat on time, which you don't do if you are alone. So it is better that your mother takes care of you. And that's the reason why she went. And then she was missing the company of the husband for a long time. After, she actually said she was missing her husband constantly, and around after maybe one and a half month, she slowly realized, okay, so this is how it is. This is for my best interest, so I better accept it. So she started accepting it from there. Now, in the last month of pregnancy, and this she could not, insist greater. It was a really big blow to the mother. Something happened. She took an initiative and did a financial investment, but somehow it failed. She was so embarrassed about this that even later, when I took her case and I was kind of dwelling on it, she did not still want to give me the details about it. She was so embarrassed about what she did, the step that she took at that point in time. She was also extremely taken aback. This was not an expected thing. She thought it would be something of a profit, but she lost quite a significant amount of money because she took an initiative and she did something. She was affected very much because of this, and she was crying all the time, to the extent that it was in the very late pregnancy, late third trimester, to the point that she stopped gaining, the fetus stopped gaining weight, and she was advised cesarean section because there were fluctuations in the blood pressure. Okay, so how do we do now? What do we do? How do we proceed with this case, right? So we have two lives of the child here, after birth and before birth. Now, those of you who know me, you know that I really like to keep my feet very firmly in our philosophy and organon. And we discussed some aspects of organon, some aspects of our philosophy in our previous sessions. And in this case, we have a really good possibility and chance. And in fact, we cannot proceed any further if we do not take into consideration and look at two aphorisms from our organon. Okay, so let's see what they are. First aphorism is aphorism 5, which will guide us with this case in the first step. And what does aphorism 5 say? Basically, because like I said, the question was which way to take. We have the history now in front of us. Now, which way to go? After the birth, before the birth, together, what are we going to do? Now, in aphorism 5, Dr. Hahnemann talks about what is it that we need to basically look at in front of us. So he says, if the disease is of acute in nature, look for exciting cause. If the disease is of chronic in nature, look for fundamental cause. These will guide you. These are the ones that you have to try and identify. Okay, and he also gives us some other very nice guidelines. He says you consider physical constitution, moral character, intellectual character, occupation, mode of living and habits, social domestic relationships, age, sexual function, etc. So most of the things that Dr. Hahnemann advises us to consider, to investigate, are something that we can get from our case taking, or from our observation, or from the observation of the onlooker. Okay, now most of this, theoretically at least, we understand. So application of it is again a different thing, and that is handled in different part of organon. But this is, firstly, we need to understand these are the guidelines as to which way to go, which way to take. Okay, so now all the guidelines seem to be pretty straightforward. However, until we come to this line where Dr. Hahnemann says the fundamental cause is generally due to a chronic miasm. Now it starts to get difficult. Is it okay if I say that the concept of miasm is not easy to understand in homeopathy? Do you agree with me?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Exactly. But then what to do? Dr. Hanneman said that this is what is going to guide you. Then we have to explore this, right? We have to understand what this miasm thingy dingy is. So then, with that in mind, we try to look at it. And it is not the only thing that we homeopaths have difficulty in. We have so many things in our organon and philosophy that we are supposed to know, we are supposed to take guidance from, but not easy to understand. We have the whole concept of vital force. We tried to explore some aspects of it last time, but it is still an enigma, right? It is the complete picture, complete vital force to grasp it. It may not be possible for us, like we discussed last time. And then we have the miasms that we just said. Then we have the concept of dynamization. That is another thing that seems to be enigma, why that happens, how, but we need to understand it. And then we have the whole modus operandi of homeopathic medicines. How do homeopathic medicines work? What do they exactly do? Now, yes, this is not very good. This is not very helpful. However, one good thing is that the concept of miasms, I can say, is the one thing in all of homeopathic philosophy that we find difficulty in understanding. It is the least difficult to understand. So finally, some good news for us homeopaths, right? Okay, so now to understand this case, to approach this case, to explore and take the next step of this case, it is very important that we understand the concept of miasms. So shall we go about it? Shall we do it? Shall we try and explore the concept of miasms today?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay, but you do know my two rules, right? Two conditions. One is no one forgets the case, and then the second is there will be interaction. Can I have your word that?
करेंगे
Perfect.
करेंगे सब लोग इंटरैक्शंस करेंगे, हाँ ना में जवाब भी देंगे, आप चलते रहो.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. So yes, so from here we will explore a little bit of our philosophy. So we go a little bit slow here, but it is very, very important, not only for this case, but for the understanding of whole our homeopathic philosophy, a very, very big concept. So please pay attention and bear with me, okay? So miasms, what are they? Let's first get the history out of the way. Now we know Dr. Hanneman, he explained miasms. Now first he explained miasms, or he talked about the fundamental cause, and he said he introduced the concept of miasm in aphorism 5, like we just discussed. But then he also, in 70 plus aphorisms, he discussed more in details how exactly are we supposed to understand miasms. He said that miasms are deep-seated, inherited or acquired disease tendencies. Okay, and he also said that these are acquired from outside. Okay, he gave strong emphasis on sora, how the skin affections happen, and then they get inside and then they get inherited. Now then came Dr. Kent. Now Dr. Kent, in many ways, was kind of an anarchist of sorts. Now I'm not saying it is, please don't misunderstand me. I really admire Kent. I use his philosophy, I use his methodologies everywhere and anywhere. I'm only saying it as it is. Dr. Kent was a challenger. He challenged what Dr. Hanneman said because he was very much into the mind level. He was very much into saying that the reason for anything is predisposition. It is already present in the person. It is not external, but it is internal. And he said, the miasm is basically predisposition to a transgression of the conscience. Okay? Then comes Dr. J.H. Allen. Now this is Actually, following the history of anything, any science is absolutely fascinating. The reason why any science, historically, the development of it just really follows the gap that it has between what it is and what it needs to be. Like, for example, when we had COVID, right? What happened? We needed a vaccine that that needed to combat the coronavirus, but then the coronavirus was changing, mutating very quickly, and then we needed to have a better solution than to find vaccination only for one trait. So what did the medical field do? They found a solution which was in very flexible in mRNA. They found like, okay, if we do this to mRNA, try to make a part of this virus look like it in mRNA, then we can create any vaccine that we want. So how did the medicine develop? How did the field of medicine develop? It just really followed the need that had been created because there was a disease. Now, in the same way, homeopathic philosophy also developed in the same way. Now, by the time we had J.H. Allen, then it was the world of gonorrhea. Now, with gonorrhea, Dr. J.H. Allen found this was a sexually transmitted disease, and now this was slightly different to what Dr. Hahnemann said about scabies and SORA. So, what he did, Dr. Allen was the one who did a lot of work on miasms. He even published a book on it, and he reclassified some of the symptoms that Dr. Hahnemann gave from SORA to psychosis. He gave a lot of emphasis in psychosis. Okay, but he also believed in predisposition and diathesis. He also believed that the trigger was inside, from inside. Now then came Dr. Stuart Close, and by this time the world is of tuberculosis. Okay, and then what he saw, Dr. Close, what he saw was that, okay, if there is virus, and even if you are very, very healthy, if there is enough viral infection, you will get sick. Then again, Dr. Claus said, no, it is not internal, it was external, it is external. So there was always this kind of conflict between our masters. Is this internal? Is this external? What is the trigger? What is the stimulus? And then later, Dr. Margaret Taylor, and she was a follower of Dr. Kent. She also believed that it was predisposition, but she did a lot of work on acute miasms. I must say that although most of our masters talked about miasms and gave some kind of information and theory, and I must say that many of this information that our masters gave on miasms was definitely much more than the information that they gave on vital force. That there already is very encouraging. Okay, and Dr. Margaret Taylor, she started even prescribing based on acute miasms. She had brilliant cures based on acute miasms. Then Dr. Vitaulikas came and he said miasms are transmitted via genome. Then Dr. Praful Vijayakar said that miasms are nothing but defense mechanisms of a body. And then Dr. Rajan Shankaran said that miasms depict the depth of experience. In fact, Dr. Shankaran gave many other ways also of trying to identify miasms, but because we already talked about the depth of experience, that is all I put here. Okay, so this is all we had, the guidelines, and mostly what this is the background. This is where we start. Okay. Now, with this, let us start our understanding. What I personally believe is that all these concepts can be understood. There is none of this concept that is impossible to understand. In miasms especially, it is not difficult to understand. And all these concepts, in fact, actually are reflection of each other. They can all be tied to a single string. So today we will only look at one fundamental concept. Okay, we will not look at all the ways that we can look at miasms, but only one fundamental concept. Okay, are you with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. All right. So from here, I will slow down a bit. All right. So now Our journey starts with a humble little soul that has one day decided to stop and solidify some kind of body around it. Okay, and when I say body, this body is not just physical body. It is everything that comes with our physical body. That is like it. Our mind comes with it. Our emotions, our delusions, our intellect, our thoughts, our rationalization, and that pain in the neck thing that we like to call conscience. Everything comes with this body, and then we have it. The thing about having this body is that it makes us perceive this world in a very special manner. We will be with these five senses. We are able to see the world. We are able to touch the world, taste the world, smell the world, feel, have emotions, have attachments, have rationalization, have thoughts, have logic, and experience things in a very, very unique way. Now, some might say this is a good thing, some might say this is a bad thing, some might say that this is some things that we need to be indifferent to. But that is not our concept here. What we're trying to understand here is that when our body is given all these things, it comes with certain amount of opportunity cost. What does that mean? It means that the body, that is connection between outside and inside, it is also exposed to the perils of outside. That means that it can be, it is delicate. It can be strong only to a certain extent, only to a certain range of things it can be strong. But after that, it can be injured, it can be hurt, and it can even be killed. If nothing, it can be aged and it can be diseased, and it can be dead. Okay. Now, when all this comes together, there is a specific way we need to function, because survival is the first function of our body. So what nature has decided, so we need to have all these functions. So we need to be able to eat, like we need to be able to release energy to our body. We need to be able to carry this energy to all these different cells, and then once they perform their functions, we need to be able to collect the waste from these cells, and then we need to take it to and somehow push it outside the body. We need to be able to think, we need to be able to perform so many functions. So then what nature did is, it is not going to leave us high and dry. It will give us as many tools as possible to make it as efficient as possible, because if we are efficient, we will be able to survive better. So in order to do that, what it has decided is that better do division of labor of these functions. So allocate an organ or an organ system to each function, and then somehow we will connect each of these organ systems, and they will all work in tandem with each other together, and together it is, let us call it an organism. That is how we have evolved. Now, interestingly, for us to be able to do the number of functions that a human body needs to perform is trillions and trillions. It is even impossible to count. Okay, so when we have to perform so many functions in this like 6-7 feet body, we have to be extremely efficient about what needs to be doing what, right? And this information as to what needs to be doing what is stored in our DNA. Now, what happens in our DNA is that this whole information is stored, but what we fascinatingly see is that the DNA that is present, for example, in liver, is the exact same DNA that is present in kidney. Now, if both the DNA are exactly the same, why is the phenotype forming differently? Why is the function of the cell different? Why is the structure of the cell different? Why is it behaving differently to different stimulus the body is being exposed? Is it not fascinating to think about that? It is all the same, then why is it all behaving differently, right?
Yes.
Okay, so yes, now the answer to this, yes, it is fascinating, but it is actually the answer to our concept at hand. So let us explore this concept taking an example. Okay, so let us now take an example. Okay, so what happened one fine day is that I woke up and they came to me. Don't ask me who they are, but it is they. They came to me and asked me if I wanted to be the king of an empire. And I said, of course, who doesn't want to be king of an empire, right? Of course, I can laze away all day and then maybe occasionally walk on some gold coins. So I said, yes, I will be. So then they made me the king. Now my empire's name is called Thertopia because it has 30 provinces in it. Okay? And I was given 30 soldiers. Okay, so that each soldier, I mean, the rationale was like I will get one soldier per a province, for anything I want to do. Okay, so very soon what happened is that I realized that being a king actually is not that much fun. It in fact came with lot of responsibilities and very little walking on gold coins, to be honest. What I had to do as one of my responsibilities is that I had to provide provisions to all the 30 provinces of my empire. Okay, so then I said, okay, I have 30 soldiers, I have 30 provinces, I have 30 days in a month, let us just assume. Then I can send one soldier, per to each province every day for their everyday provisions. Easy solution, right? So that is what I did. I sent all 30 soldiers each day to each province, giving them provisions. And this worked fine for some days. But then what happened was that one soldier distributing provisions to the whole province, they were getting extremely tired because that was too much to do. So then after some days, what I noticed is that one soldier serving the whole one big province, the soldier was getting very, very tired. By the time he came back, he was getting very, very tired. And then another thing is, when I was sending all 30 soldiers for just this one task, I had no soldiers left to man the palace or to protect the people around my Thertopia. And I had no other soldiers left to take care of agriculture, to have any kind of industrialization, nothing. All my soldiers were being used up for just this one task, which is delivering provisions. But that was very important, so I can't neglect it. So then what I had to do is I had to come up with one kind of solution. So I went to that very nice cushiony throne of mine and started thinking. Then I got one beautiful idea. I thought, okay, instead of sending one soldier with only 1 day's provision to one province, what if I sent 2 soldiers with 4 days provisions to one province? Then I would be saving 2 soldiers. So then I said, okay, the mathematics was too difficult for me. So I called my minister, who, that's what they are for. And I said, Minister, this is my idea. Can you tell me what is the most efficient way of doing this? So then the ministers did their calculations and they said, okay, if you do it this way, you will need only 10 soldiers if they can take all the 30-day provisions to one province each day. So you allocate 10 soldiers just for this task. They will deliver it in one province per day and they will deliver it for all 30 days. And what this is going to do is that because it is being done by 10 soldiers together, they will not get tired. And then the remaining soldiers, there will be 20 left over and we can do a lot of other stuff with those other 20 soldiers. So then I thought, yay, this was really brilliant idea. So that is what I did. What I did then is that I divided my 30 soldiers into 3 sets of 10 soldiers and started saying, okay, set A will do provision delivery, set 2 will do the manning of Thertopia, set 3 will do agriculture. Now, here was my problem is that now I had too many things that I was doing, like, too many commands that I had to give. It was not before, it was simple, one command. Everyone go here, like you go here and everyone will take care of one provision. So that was everybody got one command every day. That was simple. But now I needed to change commands depending on the day because the command changed. If it was day 1, it should be province 1, province A, for example. If it is day 2, it should be another province. If it is day 3, it should be another province. And for set 1, it is different command. Set 2, it is different command. So to make it easier for myself, I started making myself a lot of post-it notes. I said, for example, one post-it note I wrote, I said, for set 1, day 1, they're going to deliver provisions in state A. Then for set 1 and day 2, they're going to deliver provisions in state B. So like that, it went on and on and on. And then came set 2 and it went on and on and on and on. And then came set 3 and it went on and on and on and on and on. Now this made it easier for me. It was better. But then every day in the morning, I was running around in the palace trying to look for all the commands, all the post-its that were relevant for that one day. Okay, so that made it very difficult for me because I was just like, okay, 1 hour I was dancing around in the palace just looking for all the post-its. And that was not good, right? So then what I did is, again, I sat on that thinking throne of mine and I said, what can I do to make it better, make it easier for myself? This was just too much exercise for me running around in the palace. So then I got again another idea and then I said, okay, instead of all these various post-its in different places, let me make a master command list, a big post-it where I have all commands in one place. Then at least I will not have to run around every corner of the palace looking for what is the relevant command for this day, today. Right? So that is going to save me a lot of time. I just only have to remember where this one master command list is. And then what do I have to do? I will just have to skip all the commands that were not relevant. It will be there, but I will skip. So for example, today is day 5. So I will skip what were the commands for day 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then just go straight to day 5 and then execute that command and then skip all the rest of the days, day 6, 7, 8, 9. It's not relevant for me for that day. Are you following me? Is this better?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Am I going too fast?
No, no.
Oh, no. Okay. So basically what we are doing here, the technique, if it comes to the bottom line, the technique basically is that I'm skipping commands. I have everything in front of me, but I'm skipping what is not relevant. Now, if there are any coders in our team, we know it is very clear that writing a master code to be able to implement for various scenarios and basically writing conditionals for each execution is the best and more flexible way to do it. Right? That is basically what I did here in a very simplistic terms. Now, what this did is that I wasn't getting too much exercise in the morning. I was happy. I was able to sit in my that really comfortable throne for some time. All the soldiers were very, very efficient. They were working very efficiently, and all of my people in Thertopia were very happy and happily lived ever after. Okay, so then with this, I came back home. Are you able to see my screen now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. Now with this triumph, I came back home. I was actually very smug, those problems were not easy to solve, which I did. So I was very smug. But when I came back to my regular life, okay, now when I'm doing my regular life, what happens is that I have to have tea and coffee every day, and it's anybody's guess how much tea I will have on a day, or how much coffee I will have on a day to keep me going. And then I also don't know what kind of mood I am in to drink which kind of tea, how it needs to be prepared, which kind of coffee, how strong I want it to be prepared. It is just something that I cannot predetermine. It is something up in the air. Then what happened was that this was taking up too much of my time. Then I said, okay, look, I have some experience running Thertopia, and I had a similar problem there where I don't know. I mean, there were so many possible scenarios that I might have to execute. The solution I came up with was to prepare a master command list, right? So that is what I did. I first sat and prepared a master command list as to what I need to do for either coffee or tea. It could be that I want to make coffee or I want to make tea. Okay. So then the command list goes something like this. It says, put shoes on, go to the shops, buy tea powder, buy coffee powder, buy spices, brew tea, add spices, brew coffee, add milk, add sugar, and in some days when I'm having sweet tooth, I want to add more sugar. So this is my master command list. So I am going to be
Doctor, you
working
forgot
around.
to.
So basically what I did is that this is the parameters that I'm going to want my coffee or tea. Sometimes I want to have spices in my tea. Sometimes I don't want to have spices. Sometimes I want to have milk in my coffee or in my tea. Sometimes I want to have less sugar or more sugar or no sugar at all. Sometimes I want to go to the shops without putting my shoes on. Okay, so this is my master command list. Now then what I did is I now had because I did such a great job in Thertopia, they gave me some really nice shiny Thertopian gold coins. So what I did is I spent all those coins and bought for myself 2 robots. I called them a tea robot and a coffee robot. Very creative, I know, but just to make it easy for myself, I just named them a tea robot and a coffee robot. All right. So then what I have to do is, now can you see my command list here to
Yes,
the
yes.
left?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. So with my
Use pointer.
experience, okay. So with my experience in Thertopia, my takeaway was simply that I need to create a master list, and make sure what needs to be skipped over. Make sure that I will just skip over what I don't want and not skip over what I want. Okay, so that was my takeaway from that experience. So then I fixed every of these commands with a switch, on and off switch. Can you see these black square things here? These are my switches that I fitted every command with. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. Now what I do is when I give the command list to my tea robot, I switch on only the ones that I feel are relevant to my tea, to making my tea. So here, when I'm giving this transcript to my tea robot, I say, put shoes on. So anything that I have switched on, I put it in green. And anything that I have switched off, I put it in gray. Basically, I only put it in gray for us to visualize it, but it won't be transcribed. It will go empty there. Okay. So I told my tea robot when I give its command list, I said, put shoes on, go to shops, buy tea powder. Now this thing, buy coffee powder, I switched it off. This command will not be transcribed in his command list. Then I said, buy spices. Then I said, brew tea, add spices. Then I said, I switched off this command of brew coffee. Then I switched on. Today I want to drink tea with milk. I switched this on. So this is the great thing about having these switches, is that if I someday don't want to have milk in my tea, I just simply switch it off. I have the possibility inbuilt there. I just need to switch on and off depending on my whimsy that day. Okay. Then I said add sugar. Then I said no, I don't want to add any additional sugar because I'm taking care of my health. Okay. And then that day, the command list that I gave to my coffee robot, where I switched on, again put shoes on, go to shops. Now I switched off the command to transcribe by tea powder. I switched on by coffee powder to this robot, switched off by spices, switched off brew tea. This won't be transcribed because I switched it off. And then I said brew coffee because this is my coffee robot. Then I said, I'm going to take my coffee black today, no milk. And then I said, add sugar. And then I said, I'm going to add more sugar. You only get one life. Okay. So this is my command list to that coffee robot that day. Okay. Now see the flexibility I gain just by adding these switches onto each command. Okay. So basically, do you see the flexibility that I'm gaining just by adding a switch on and off switch to my master command list? That is basically what I'm trying to show here. Because if today I just say I don't want to drink coffee, I just do not transcribe anything, or I say I want to have coffee with spices. I mean, I can do that if I want to. I have the possibility. I just have to switch this command on. Okay, with me? Are you able to see the flexibility that I gain by doing it this way?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay, so then what happens in real life? Okay, basically our human body works in a very, very similar way. Now I said that the DNA in every single cell of our body is exactly the same. The DNA is like this. The master command list is our DNA. This master command is there. This list is there in every cell of our body, be it kidney cell, be it liver cell, be it lung cell, be it nerve cell. It is the exact same DNA. Okay. But when this DNA gives a command to RNA, this is called transcription. This command transcribed to RNA, it happens in the nucleus, but it is then transmitted or transported to ribosomes, where the robots execute the command. That is called translation. So the DNA transcribes what is required. What is not required is skipped. Basically, what is not required is skipped, and only what is required is skipped. And that requirement is decided by the need of the day. So if I say that this is the cell that I want to perform the function of digestion, then all the commands that need to perform the function of digestion are switched on, and all the remaining commands are switched off. Okay, and because that is then translated, a phenotype is formed. The shape of the organ is then formed depending on that translation. Are you following me? Are you with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, what is the most important aspect here? That is the switches. These are the switches that are helping the master command list to be partly executed, what needs to be executed, what needs to be skipped. Now, these switches are called epigenes. Now, these epigenes basically attach themselves on top of a gene, or it's actually a genome. So it just gets attached there and switches themselves on and off depending on the need of the day. Following me? So far with me?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is the beauty of human body. Now what happens is that Now with this, what we understand is that there is a lot more in our body that is up our sleeves than what we use, right? Like for example, whenever there is a need of the day, then we pull out a lot of magic from ourselves, from our body, which we did not even think it was even possible in our lives to do before. We now are able to do it suddenly because there is a need of the day, and that happens. Now let's say one day I am walking on a street and I come face to face with a tiger that is charged at me. It is just 1/2 a second from charging at me. Now I then saw this tiger in this state. Now I have a split second to assess the situation and decide if my best chances of survival is by staying and fighting or is by running. Okay. Now what I then do is I basically have to, whatever I decide, my body needs to pull out some additional energy for me, some additional power for me. So it is like, if you have sprinkler system in your house, like fire sprinkler system, they are doing nothing. They are just on the roof blending with the decor every day. You don't even notice them. But the minute it smells smoke, minute that trigger happens, they immediately come into action and start raining water to extinguish fire. Now, after the fire is extinguished, they again go back to being very calm, almost like you don't even know if they are ever going to function. It's almost like they again blend back into the decor, right? So this extra, as soon as you have the trigger, they function extra. So the same thing happens with our body. So when I have this tiger in front of me, I have to now have some extra energy. Now this energy I need to pull out from all the resources I have, right? And I decide, let's say I want to run. Now, because I can't stay and fight the tiger is much more strong and powerful than me. And I see a tree very close by. So I decide that I'm going to run and climb the tree. And I have never climbed a tree before in my life, but somehow this time I climbed the tree. Now then I was up in the tree. Then the tiger saw me quite longingly for a minute or two, and then it decided that there's no use, and it simply left. Then what happens in my body? Everything comes back to normal very, very slowly or very, very quickly, depending, but it all comes back to normal, right? So when I saw this stimulus, something triggered on in my body where I got so much additional energy only for that period of time. And after that, it's gone again. Right? Now you ask me when I'm happy and healthy and no tigers around, you ask me to climb a tree, I will probably climb a tree, but not within 2 minutes like I did before. Right? Because I don't have that kind of strength anymore. Okay? Are you with me so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So then what happens? This is the beauty of human body. This trigger can switch on and off depending on requirement. Okay. So then it gets switched off, and then again I'm going about in my life normally without any problem because I don't see any more tigers. Now in my very happy privileged life, I probably faced these kind of situations maybe once or twice in my life, right? I mean, how often do we see a tiger in front of us, right? But there are some people, some circumstances where these people are continuously exposed to these kind of triggers and stimulus. Like, for example, soldiers at war. They are exposed to this kind of scenarios, even some of the things that they are exposed to and they have to take, it's almost like even if we are exposed to one of those scenarios, it is enough to change a life. But then they are exposed to this life, so day in and day out continuously. What happens to their switches? the switches don't have enough time or resources to set back, to reset themselves. So what happens to these switches? They go on. They are kind of loose now. So easily they go on. So for example, you remove them. So a soldier has been exposed to a war scenario for like 3 or 4 years where he had to continuously be exposed to a lot of trauma, extreme amounts of trauma day in and day out, like I said. And then after that, he is removed from that scenario. Now he is in a regular life. But even post that trauma, his switches are not reset. Meaning to say, now when I need a tiger for this switch to go on, their switches go on even if they see a tree branch falling. So it is so much easier for them. So even post that trauma, they carry with them this tremendous amount of stress. And what it has been seen is that they then transmit these switch setting to their progeny. And what happens to the next generation? So the next generation personally have not been, let's assume they have not been exposed to any kind of war scenario before, but still they have this post-traumatic stress disorder. And this goes on for generations together because of that one soldier that has been exposed to these kind of scenario. Are you following me? Are you with me? This has all been very well experimented and proven.
Yes,
With
ma'am.
me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Oh,
Okay. So now listen to me carefully. What happens is that as we have seen, this setting of the switches, how easy it is for them to be switched on, how hard is it for them to be switched on, how loose they are, how tight they are, and then they go back, how much original status they go back on. This is all transmitted to the progeny in the form of miasma. This is the atmosphere that is transmitted to the next progeny. And these are in our homeopathic language called the miasms. Are you with me?
very nice,
Very
ma'am.
nice.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Repeat the last
Okay.
sentence.
So what I said last was that this setting, how all these functions, the human body has extremely high number of functions. And all these functions, now the example that I have taken about war and trauma is of an extreme example. But a stimulus doesn't need to be that extreme for these switches to change their setting. It can be a very low stress scenario, but exposure of a very long time also can change this setting. There are many ways that this setting will be changed, and all these scenarios, all these settings are transmitted to the progeny in the form of miasma. This is the atmosphere where these epigenes are getting, what is the atmosphere in which these epigenes are getting transmitted to the progeny. Are you following me? Someone asked me to repeat. Are you clear now?
Clear, ma'am.
Clear,
Clear.
ma'am.
Okay. So now, like I said, we have trillions and trillions of functions with trillions and trillions of epigenes and trillions of switches and their settings, how they move, how they change, what status are they in, right? Now, that only leads to, just for us to understand, that leads to a lot of chaos and confusion. That entropy is like, there is so many things. For us to understand and grasp it, we need to bring some kind of order, right? For our rational mind to understand it, we need some kind of order, right? So what we did, what our masters did is, they created certain kind of definitions, logics, and said if a miasm follows this logic, this can be grouped into set A. And if it is a different logic, it can be set B. And if it is another logic, it can be set C. Okay. And the first three sets were named Sora, psychosis, and syphilis. Now, each of these miasm is a combination of billions of settings inside. Are you following me? Are you following the gravity of this? How much it is behind the scenes? Are you with me?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, okay. So now, then what happened is that some of our other masters came and said, okay, it is still a lot of confusion. There is, we are saying it's only 3 sets, but it is like trillions of functions, trillions of things, trillions of epigenes, trillions of settings. So it's almost like, when you have in a plasma screen, if the pixels are bigger, the picture is blurred, right? If you want to make it more clearer, you want to make the picture more clearer, you have to make the pixels smaller and smaller, right? And that is what our masters at later point did by introducing different miasms and different sets of settings to belong to that miasm. Okay, are you with me?
Yes, ma'am.
So Dr. Shankaran recognizes 10 miasms. That is what I have displayed here. But there are many other miasms that were recognized in the meantime by other doctors. It depends on how they are working with it, how their way of approaching the cases, how they look at it. All right. Is this clear so far?
Clear, ma'am.
Yes. So please understand, like I said, there are many ways of looking at and understanding the miasm. But even if you understand this fundamental thing, what is the group of things? How is it? I mean, what is the logic that is grouping these different kinds of settings into Sora? What is the logic behind this setting to become psychosis? What syphilis? The logic behind it, even if we understand why we call this Sora, why we call this a miasm, how it works, just the logic we understand it, we will be able to put this. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show. So yeah, what I'm trying to impress here is that basically, even if you understand this part, even this part, because there are many other ways of understanding miasms, like I said, and we can, like I said, we can understand all of them and put so everything into a single thread. But even this part, if you understand and implement in your analysis, it will be of huge help. If someone says miasms, you will be able to see what exactly are they talking about. Okay, and from here we can say, okay, what is the set of what is the set of symptoms that have been classified as Sora, and what does that actually mean? Meaning to say, how is this like a stimulus if it is going to be resulting in excess, in an accumulation? Yeah, then it is put under set B, the psychosis. Okay, so in that way we will be able to build upon this, and then we can build on each remedy, the symptoms that they have, the materia medica, everything, every symptom can be grouped under each of these miasm. Okay, are you with me?
Yes, ma'am.
So then the 5 sense dimension theory. So coming back to this case, so we remember the case, right? I hope.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, because that was one of the conditions. I hope that you are upholding the promise from your side. So yes, so
देर में लोग भूल जाएंगे मैम, लेकिन आप ऐसा पढ़ा रही है ना, लोग भूल जा रहे हैं, वो बहते जा रहे हैं. अच्छा पढ़ा रही है, प्लीज कंटिन्यू.
sorry, what should I not, should I, or should I didn't understand?
डॉक्टर को ऐसा पढ़ा आप ऐसा पढ़ा रही हैं, लोग अच्छे से सुन रहे हैं, अब शब्द नहीं निकलेंगे, ऐसा मैं बोल रहा हूँ, आप पढ़ाते जाएं बस.
Acha, okay. So then coming back to this case, so now we understand what the miasm is, right? So what is the fundamental cause here? Let us just basically try and understand what happened to the mother, what happened to the child. Now post-uterus, post-birth, we saw that there was not really a particular causation or ailments factor or never been well since factor. Okay. Now that doesn't mean that if we do not have that, we will not be able to address the child. We will be able to address the child, but then we are guided by aphorism 5. What is Dr. Hahnemann saying? You look for the fundamental cause and then try to remove it. That will guide you. So then we have no choice but then to other than to look also if there is a fundamental cause in the intrauterine life, and in this case there definitely most certainly was a fundamental cause. There was more or less everything. The lifestyle was not extremely good. The focus was not very good. There was intervention, physical artificial intervention for the birth to have taken place, and then also during pregnancy there were two stimuli that seem to have affected the mother tremendously. Now what if they both have affected the child, or if one of it affected the child? If it is one of them, then which one of them that had affected the child? We will look in the coming slides. I will not dwell too much on the 5 sense dimension theory, but this basically is coming from traditional Chinese medicine. And here we look at each of the issue that the child has, especially the ASD child have, from sense dimension, one of the sense dimensions. And here you see if it is something with reproduction, what we need to look at is mother's constitution. We need to look for deep miasmatic remedy. So yes, from both sides, the indication is that we need to look at the causation in the mother. We need to look for the miasm in the mother. We need to look for the fundamental cause, and we need
Yes,
to.
ma'am.
So yes, so with this in mind, we now move on to the mother's case, because now it has become very important to take to understand what is mother's constitutional remedy. Because so far we talked about the mother and the pregnancy history as part of the child's history. But now what we understand is that most probably the constitution of the mother is going to be the indicated remedy for the child. That is what the philosophy is pointing at. So let us see if that makes sense. So here's the mother's case. Doctor, tell me, how was your last week? Now there was no presenting complaint, so I had to start somewhere, right? So mother, all good, just busy at work. Doctor, is your job stressful? Mother, before I was part of team, so then it was more stressful because we had deadlines and not all were working properly and we needed to pull them up. But now I am an individual contributor, so now it is better. Doctor, how does your typical day go? Mother, usually my mind is all full about my work, and many times I'm in my chair all day without food. That was the main reason why my husband sent me to my parents' when I got pregnant. He said, you don't look after yourself well, better go to your parents who can look after you. My mother would bring food to my chair and I would eat. Doctor, let's say you have suddenly been given a tough deadline. How do you process it? Mother, I question in my mind, is this really urgent or fake urgent? And depending on the fire, I plan it all and distribute it. Doctor, if it is not really urgent, then what would you do? Mother, I would stand up to them and question them. Sometimes their agenda is different to what they would tell us. Initially, I used to take the task, but now I have experience. I don't take it blindly. Doctor, okay, how is your relationship with your husband? You said you were missing him when pregnant. Mother, yes, I used to constantly miss him a lot. We got married in 2019 and 2 years following, we were in lockdown and both were working from home. So we got very close with each other. So when I was in my parents' home, he used to visit during weekends and that was good, but I still felt it was a long gap. I didn't want to go in the first place, but everybody supported him and convinced me. I constantly wanted to go back home. After a month or so, I also understood and stopped asking. Okay, doctor, what exactly were you missing? Give me an example. What were you looking for? Mother, I was missing the togetherness, like he would help me out of auto when we would go to the doctor, make sure I'm being careful when walking outside. We are very good with each other during normal times, so would have been even closer during that time. My parents were always there for me. That was never a problem, but I used to feel that if he was there during doctor consultations would have been easier because he would have been able to decipher what the doctor said from his side, and also we could have discussed later and he would have corrected me if my understanding was wrong. My parents couldn't do that. Doctor, what were you feeling inside? Mother. Okay, mother, I used to think constantly that this pregnancy should sustain without complications because I was also hearing many cases of abortions. I used to do breathing exercises, listen to spiritual discourses, eat flax seeds and hoping that it helps. Doctor, tell me about your pregnancy journey. Mother, I went to the gynecologists that few of my friends used, and they all got pregnant for their first IUI try. But it didn't work for me. This disappointed me very much. All my friends got pregnant from that center. Why did I not? So I just decided to try a different center. So she tried 2 times and failed. Then we decided to take a break and try naturally for some months, and that also did not work. And then we went to a different center, and she said, I will try one more time by changing medicines and double IUI. I also took one week holiday and spent in a relaxed manner, and that time it worked. Doctor, it was only 3 years since marriage. Why were you in such hurry? Mother, everyone were asking about it. My periods were becoming more and more irregular. I was gaining weight, so we thought it was high time that we did something about it. Doctor, did you ever feel it if everything was natural, there would have been no complications later? Mother, no, I never felt that way. All my friends said that this is very common and many people have these problems nowadays. See how much she's dependent. She's looking for outside support. Like, basically she wants what are all her friends saying. If all her friends are saying this is okay, then she's reassured. If they're saying that it is common and many people are doing this, then she's happy. She's feeling okay. This is fine. I don't have anything to worry about. Now, doctor, tell me about what happened during later part of pregnancy with financial loss. Mother, it was due to a wrong decision I took. I felt very, very bad. I was not able to digest this. How did I do this? I was constantly it was constantly on my mind. Why did I take that decision? My husband handled it very well. He did not say a word to me. He even told my parents to refrain from scolding me. I was very, very sad. I carried it in my mind for 2 to 3 weeks until I got high BP. Look at the non-human words, okay? Follow the non-human words. Doctor, what was the concern exactly? Mother, I made this mistake. Why did I make this mistake? Was this my overconfidence or arrogance? Or did my brain not work at that time? When there was a doubt, I should have taken a back step, but I took a forward step. How could I have been so dumb? When I told my husband, even he was surprised because it was not in my nature to do things like this. And also it was not a small amount. Doctor, what was the first thought that came to mind once you heard the news? Mother, first I confirmed that this is true, and once I found out that this was true, it was quite heavy. Can I somehow get that amount back? Would I be able to go through all that procedure? Even to explain this to my parents and my husband, it was very hard. I was feeling very embarrassed. I was not sure if I will be able to explain it to anyone else. I was crying and crying all the time. Now, because she dropped a non-human word here, she said quite heavy, I wanted to explore that. And I said, you said that once you realized it was true, it was quite heavy. Can you please tell me what you mean by that? And now the mother drew a complete blank. She completely forgot that she used that word. She said, I said heavy amount. Don't remember saying heavy for anything else. No, okay. Then I said, okay. Do you feel mad at that person? Mother, yes, very, very much. Sometimes I feel like I will kill him. Doctor, because he was in the wrong? Mother, yes, I should not have fallen prey to him. He was a perfect scammer. He did his job well. Doctor, I am sending you a picture. Please look at it and tell me what comes to mind first. Don't think about anything logical. Say whatever comes to your mind. Woman 1. Mother, she is trying to protect herself. Doctor, from what would someone protect herself? Mother, from anything outside, maybe sexual harassment. Follow the words that she is using, okay? Anything outside. Doctor, what comes to mind when you think about what is happening to your daughter? Mother, did I not do something that I should have done? I feel like as a mother, it is my first responsibility, even before the father. So I think, did I do something wrong? I have a friend whose daughter is 4 months younger than my daughter. She makes YouTube content, so that child is continuously exposed to screens, but she is already speaking, filling in blanks, etc. But I wonder why this is happening to my daughter. She doesn't even have that much screen exposure. Look at the constant comparison. For her to be assured, she needs to look at the world outside her. Like she needs to be assured that's the only way she can be assured. Doctor, how is your sleep? Mother, very sound. I don't have many nights where I have disturbed sleep. Doctor, any dreams? Mother, yes. For example, when I have interview or exams, I get all those in my dreams. During initial days of job, I used to get answers in dreams about how to code and get ideas. I also get solutions during bathing. Doctor, any life related dreams? Mother, yeah. Like for example, when we were looking to buy house, I used to get my solutions during bathing or sleeping. Doctor, any recurrent dreams? Mother, nothing that I remember. Doctor, okay, but when you're dreaming, what usually goes on in your mind? Mother, recently I started learning car driving. I went with a lot of determination. I want to learn as soon as possible. The instructor gave me 2, 3 feedbacks and he said I'm repeating the same mistakes every day. Then I had that whole scene in dream that night. So, doctor, looks like you dream about things that you're pursuing in life. Why do you think that is? Mother, probably. I don't know. I'm not sure. Now, here I said, see, I gave her like an opening to say it is because I'm ambitious, because obviously that is what she is. The case has led to us to understand it this way, right? So then I asked a leading question. I said, would you consider yourself an ambitious person? And for this, the mother said her answer lasted for 6.5 minutes. She said, yeah, but nowadays I feel like I'm not able to achieve things like before. Whenever I had to do something, I used to plan accordingly and achieve them. But nowadays I feel like I'm in a gap. My thought process is not correct. I need to correct many aspects in me to get further in my career. Never before did I feel so much gap or burden as I'm feeling now. Due to work from home nowadays, I'm not in touch with any colleagues and friends. Before, when I used to go to office, I used to be able to discuss with them, and at least there I used to get some kind of clarity. This is where this is where I stand, etc. But nowadays I feel like I'm living in a well, not seeing anyone other than my in-laws and family. That is why I want to learn car, and then I can go to office, put my daughter in childcare for 4 to 5 hours. Then I will be able to understand. That was why I was very much determined to learn to drive. Doctor, describe being in a well. Mother, I don't have any problems with family, but only with professional exposure. Because I'm in contact with them, so when it comes to work, I feel like I'm living in a well. Doctor, what does burden mean? Mother, I feel like all my time is going in taking care of daughter. That makes me feel arrested. I'm sometimes getting surprised with some of my work expectations, so I feel like I'm missing something, that there is a communication gap going on. In this new workplace, I don't have any friends. I'm not touching my phone to keep it away from my daughter. So anything I want to do, I'm facing a blocker. All these make me feel very burdened. Doctor, what happens in your body when you feel burdened? Mother, I feel it in my stomach. Every time I experience high emotions or I'm expressing myself, I can feel it in my stomach. I don't know how to describe this. It is like something flows through here. So she basically made made a gap between her thumb and index finger and ran it across her midriff. Okay, I have a video of this. I'll show you in a second. Now, doctor, what does it mean to be arrested? Mother, being restricted, not being able to do what you want. So that was the end of the case. Okay, so are you able to see my PPT again now?
It is written only mother's case.
Yes, exactly. So then we look at my my regular slides, the 7 levels of experience, and it is very clear in this case that we will be able to solve this case through sensation method and also through predictive homeopathic method. Okay, and I will explain to you how to do this one after the other. Okay, so I want you to, I hope that you have observed the mother. I know it's not the language that you, I mean, at least most of you understand, but please just follow and grasp the demeanor of the mother. Okay, now that question was when I asked, why did you breastfeed your daughter for 17.5 months? So she was explaining what were the different opinions and how she asked others what to do and that kind of thing. So that was her demeanor there. Now look at the next. That was her what I call the baseline. Now, did anybody wants to share with us what they noticed? Did you notice any difference in her?
In the first video, she was a bit sad. And the second, as you asked the question about ambition, a tinge of happiness could be seen.
Okay. Anything in her demeanor? How was her engagement? How was the fire in her answer? Now, she basically continued with that answer for 6.5 minutes, describing to me even how many traffic signals were there between her home and her office.
Second video is more with hand gesture, ma'am. First one is little saddy, and second one is little bit happier type moment, with more hand gesture.
Yes. Okay, we'll talk about
She was more confident, like an expertise in your field to do what and everything set up. And in the first, she was almost all about this people saying that, like sensitive to opinions and not your opinion.
Yes. Yes. All right. Okay. Yes. So what is it that she said? So first I checked in my mobile to make sure that this is correct information, but once it was confirmed, then it was all quite heavy. Did you hear that? Yes, in the very end, that's where I cut the video. That's what she said. Now listen to the next video. I said it was actually the immediately next video. Next question I asked. You said heavy. How do you describe it? Yes. So anytime, either I'm expressing something or if I'm under a high emotion situation, I feel it in my stomach. And this is when I asked her if there is any change. What is your experience in your body? This was her answer. So she showed video part of the midriff. All right.
Hello.
So now let's see what I said that we found sensations in this case, and we will be able to solve this case through sensation method. So the first 2 videos that I showed was basically to show you how the energy shifts. When the patient is sitting in front of you, and I think it was more clearer to me because by the point that I asked her this question, would you consider yourself an ambitious person? It was, I think, 1 hour 25 minutes into my case taking. So I was used to seeing her. Now, how do we do this is like, at least how I do it is when the patient is in front of you, it is like working or analyzing any kind of body language, right? Like, for example, if you're analyzing a body language, first you draw a baseline. because every person comes with different kind of body language. Some of them are already like they make a lot of hand gestures, some of them are very quiet, some of them are low voice, some of them are very energetic and loud and all that. So we can't compare one person to the other when analyzing the body language. In the same way, we can't compare one person to the other when analyzing the sensation. So first, draw a baseline. Find out what is the baseline for this patient, and then see when the energy shifts. And when the energy shifts, you can be very clear, or at least you can be at least 90-95%, even 100% sure that she has hit the sensation. In this patient, she hit her sensation for that question, and after that it was all downhill for me. It was much easier to extract everything else after that question. Okay, this is something that we need to look and practice, but I mean, I just wanted to show you, because every time I present a case, this is always a question as to how we can identify the sensation. And there are many ways, many techniques, like I say, every time. But this is one of them. Always draw a baseline. Draw a baseline. What is where she's like, especially when the patient is on emotion or delusion level. Always draw a baseline where she is, how is her energy level, and then the moment it shifts, you know that we have a jackpot. Okay. Now then, non-human words and expressions. See, she actually used the word quite heavy, but when I asked her about it, she even forgot. She couldn't even remember that she used the word heavy. I have said this before and I will say this again. The thing is that when a person hits the sensation, she wants to express her sensation. Words are not enough. They just make do with the words they know, or they can remember, or they can think. They can use any non-human word, doesn't matter, but that expression, what she's experiencing inside, is what is dominating when she's saying it. So this was a very typical, classical, very good example where the mother even forgot that she used that word, but then what she was experiencing, and then I knew that heavy is definitely one of her sensations. We cannot leave that out. Okay, are you following me? Are you with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, so can you see my screen now? I have changed the slide. Can you see it?
Yes, ma'am.
Kingdom.
Kingdom.
Kingdom. So yes, what is the kingdom in this case? It was very clear. I mean, this thing about especially what happened in the third trimester of her pregnancy, it was very clear. It was clear also before, but there it was very clear and confirmed. What is wrong with me? Why did I do this? How did I do this? There is a lack in me. This is a mineral kingdom. Now then, once we know that this is a mineral kingdom, then yeah, many of you got it right. Yes, we have a lot of raw food themes here. There is everything. Her theme is job, her responsibility, her life with her job, and then we have column 2 themes where the structure is found, but then she still needs support from outside world. Okay. Then we have, what is the miasm here? So again, we have this miasmatic spectrum. We put acute psora, psychosis, syphilis. And when I say this, I'm really hoping that it is a little more clearer when I use these words now. And then we have the patient here. And what is the miasm? That is also very clear. Extreme amounts of hiding, embarrassment. She is in psychotic dominance. Okay. Now, what is the source? We saw the hand gesture. We saw what happens to her body. She described it very well. Were you there? Where was I in?
Hand gestures.
Yes. So the hand gestures where she showed across her midriff where something is flowing in through a little gap in her abdomen. Yeah, this is very much, the heavy, the burden, the arrested feeling, being in a well, being in a gap. All these are very much mollusk themes, but it is a mineral kingdom remedy. So the source, I derived it to be Calcarea carb. Okay, Calcarea carb is made from the middle layer of oyster shell, right? Are you with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then you just thought it? Which doctor said that?
Devesh.
Dr. Devesh, okay. Was it fun?
Fourth row, carbon, heavy burden arrested.
Yes. Heavy burden arrested. So
Okay.
it's like when we do it in order, it is so much
Sensitive to
fun.
opinions of others is very much.
Exactly. We will get to so many rubrics now. We will get to them. Okay, now predictive method. All right. Now this is important, so I will talk about it a little. In this method would have been a brilliant method. If it was not for the aphorism 5, I would have gone with aphorism 3. Because I went with aphorism 5 as an entry point, I went to the fundamental cause, and then I went to taking the constitution of the mother. But aphorism 3 tells us, dear doctors, you are a true practitioner of healing art because you know what is to be cured in diseases, you know what is curative in medicines, and you know how to match them both together, and then you know the pharmacology of it, and you know the obstacles to recovery and how to remove them. Okay. Now the point here that we need to understand is what is to be cured in disease. Now what is it that we need to cure in this little patient of ours? Now we actually determined that it was going to be it is the fundamental cause that we need to remove it. However, how was this formed? Now, can you see my screen still? Can you see ailments factor, how to take it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So many of us, like now the thing is, firstly, I got very lucky in this case. I got very, very lucky because the two factors that happened, two triggers, the possible triggers that happened quite far apart. Okay, so first one was very earlier on in second trimester, and the second one was very later on in the third trimester. Okay, so it became then, really logical. Okay, so yeah, so we have two possible trigger factors here, or two possible, ailments factor here, and now we need to figure out which one has impacted our little girl child, right? One was when the mother was 3.5 months pregnant. So what would that make it? Like 14 weeks pregnant. 14 weeks pregnant. And then one was when she was like very end to 8th month and early 9th month pregnancy. Okay. Now, how can we take the ailments factor? Now, many of you did take the ailments factor, and for a very good reason, because ailments factor, when we find in the patient, can be a really good ally. And when we have it, we should take it. But the funny thing is, sometimes it is easy to find it, sometimes it is not easy to find it. So, a child comes home crying because the teacher has reprimanded her, and she's crying all night, and then she wakes up with temperature. Easy ailments factor, we have to take it. I go out in hot sun, I come back and I feel dizzy. Easy ailments factor, I have to take it. But let's say, for example, if a person, he had anger. Okay, he had anger, but he did not express it. He basically suppressed his anger. But the very next day, his skin burst out in angry red rash, like full of pus, angry red rash. Now, we don't know what he suppressed. Now, with knowing what happened the next day, can we try and figure out, should we take suppressed anger or should we take suppressed rage?
Yes, it should be rage, I think, more syphilitic.
Exactly. So the circumstances where we don't know exactly what happened, there are other ways that we can do it. Like we have to see the result and then match it back to the miasm. Sometimes that helps. Many times that helps. Okay. And there are other ways. Like for example, when we look at embryology now, when we look at embryology, let's say this arrow is the embryological development in utero. Okay. Now, we know that in embryological development, we have 3 phases. Okay. One phase, the first trimester phase, is the neuronal plate development. Second phase is where we have migration, and third phase is where we have myelination. But it is a serial kind of development. Now, can I say, logically, can I assume that if there is something that goes wrong at this point in time, okay, then something, or let's say, look at it another way. If something goes wrong at this point in time, can we say that something that follows this is the one that will be affected? Can we say that?
Yes.
Yes.
But we can't say that if this is where something goes wrong, we can't say that something before this will be affected, right? Until then, everything was developing completely fine. Then there happened something here at point B. So then we have to say, then we will probably see that there has been something wrong with the development after this point B.
Yes.
Yes. Embryological
Okay.
development language.
Yes. So let us quickly see how the language and speaking develop. Now, what do we have in the child? Child is not speaking, but she understands. Okay. Now, like I said, I got very, very lucky in this case because the two incidents happened so far apart that it was easy to isolate the actual cause. Now, the language center is developed in parietal lobe and speaking center is developed in frontal lobe. Now let's take the timeline of the 3 trimesters of the pregnancy. Okay, now this is the first trimester where the neuronal tube is formed, second trimester where the migration is happening, and the third trimester where the myelination is happening. Okay, now what is happening with this child? We know from the result that the child understands, but she's not speaking. What that means is that she is not able to learn. Her problem is with learning how to speak, learning the language. Okay, her problem is learning. Now there are two with it. The trigger factor, if it happened here or if it happened here. Now, if it had happened in the myelination phase, embryologically, both the speaking and language centers are already formed. What is remaining is just for them to be connected in the white matter. And if that is happening, then it would also be associated with some other things like motor development or most importantly, the lack of eye contact. This is the reason why I listed the clinical symptoms, what she had and what she did not have specifically. Now, what we see is that the learning ability is formed at the point of 18 weeks. Now, the mother, what happened? 14 weeks, she went to her mother's place and she kept saying and saying and saying that I want to go home. I don't want to be here. She kept saying that, thinking that constantly for 1 month, which is 4 more weeks, which is coming to 18 weeks. Right? Now, what is she telling the fetus inside? Was there any consequence to when she vocalized? I said, I want to go, I want to go, I want to go. No, they did not scold her, yell at her, or anything. They said, with lots of love, they explained to her. But at the end of the day, was there a consequence to her vocalizing her desire? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
There was any consequence? Did something happen? Something changed? Was she sent home? No, right? She had to, in the end, come to terms with it. She just had to adjust. After 18 weeks, she said, slowly, I started adjusting. So this is the point. This is our golden period. This is the mindset of the mother that we need to now pinpoint and take. Are you following me? Are you with me?
Yes, ma'am.
So it was just simple logic in terms of how the embryo develops in this case. I'm not saying it will be that easy in every case, but in this case, it was like that. Okay. So for that period of time, what was happening? The mother actually served as the first rubric in a plate. She said, I wanted to go home. So at that point in time, her desire was to go home. And then the second rubric, and this troubled me to no end. What was happening to the mother? Why was she missing? I asked her, give me examples why you were missing what exactly were you missing in the absence of your husband? Now, what was happening is that she was desiring two things. One is the emotional support. Two is the intellectual support. So I was like playing around with, okay, desire to be carried, but then that is only emotional support. There is no intellectual support there. Okay, let's say support desire for, but that is intellectual support, but there's no emotional support there. So I was looking for something that did both. Now, I'll be very honest with you. I struggled with this for half an hour, and then I said I was going back in circles again and again and again, and I said no, I'll just have to take a break. I closed my eyes, and then I was thinking about it, and then this picture flashed in front of my eyes. It said it's basically when she was getting off the auto, she wanted the husband to hold her, to protect her. When she was walking, she needed him to hold her and make sure that she doesn't fall over. She wanted that kind of support, and this holding means both emotional and intellectual. This is like how how in Kurmavatar, the God Lord Vishnu, he holds the Mother Earth up from all the trouble, from the water, from the danger, out of, like, he's basically saying, I'm here for you, giving, encircling her with protection. This is Calcarea Carb. Are you following me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So then on top of this, now these are our golden rubrics. And now you will see that this is not even my first hit here, right? This is my third hit. But that's already, like, on top of it, how many more? Now you see, even the constitution of Calcarea Carb, you can take government, you can take ailments from cares and Therist. The mother got everything she wanted more. Right. And you also said, the sensitivity opinion of others, and then see, always comparing and being envy at the quality of others. So we can build so many more rubrics on top of it, her constitutional rubrics. But these two rubrics, this is what predictive homeopathy teaches us. The golden rubrics, the golden period where we need to, what is the target? Where is it that we need to hit? Okay, so then I also wanted to quickly show you how to use the thematic repertory, because in a case like this, a thematic repertory is a very, very good aid. So what I did here, I took Mirili's thematic repertory, and I took touch. And the reason why I took this took this rubric from theme is because basically, what did the mother want? She wanted that touch from the husband. And also with the TCM theory, in the sense dimension of touch, it is described how when artificial pregnancy, there is artificial hormones that are inducted, and they go and get attached to the place where the normal hormones are supposed to be getting attached. So this comes under sense dimension of touch. And then the daughter doesn't want to be touched, doesn't want to be held. Now the beauty of thematic repertory is that you can use this rubric for its quality or the opposite of it. So if when I say touch, it could be desires touch, it could be aversion to touch, it could be, if I want to break it down, I would not take those rubrics. I would not take a biochemical rubric. I would not take a disease ultimate rubric. I would not take that the child does not want to be touched, because that is a disease ultimate. But because it is a theme that is running between the mother and the daughter, then I'm very comfortable. I would even say, or look in this kind of case, look in the thematic repertory, and that makes your entry point. That is the reason why I took it here as the first rubric. So I would not say, for example, if I go with my golden rubrics, and then I would still I put my thematic rubric on top of it, and then I will not find in my thematic rubric Calcarea Carb, then I would have reassessed my understanding and my analysis. See, we are working in the realms of energy. We need to have support where we need to where we need to check ourselves time and again, right? So these are all the ways where we can check ourselves. Okay. Now, can you see my screen? I've changed the slide. Materia
Ma'am,
Medica.
ma'am, can you show the previous slides once more?
Yeah.
For
Yeah, and
previous slide, few
to this you
seconds.
can add everything.
Ha.
You
No,
can
no,
add
this
so
slide,
many
sir.
others.
Ma'am, this slide, the previous slides, just few seconds.
Previous meaning to say this one?
Ha, yeah, yeah. Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So we talked already about this, the themes of calcium with row 4 and column 2. And then we have some mollusk themes that also we have some very, very nice non-human words that this mother gave. Someone in the group also identified this: when the mother is doing things against her will, there is always this thing, she's wanting to do something and she's doing something else. Whenever these things come, think of a mollusk. I'm not saying that only mollusk has this, but this is also a theme that is running in mollusks. Okay. If the kingdom was not a mineral kingdom, then I would have gone for animal kingdom, some mollusk remedy. But because it was mineral kingdom, I went for Calcarea carb. Okay, now try miasmatic materia medica. Now basically, look, what can I say about Calcarea carb? Everybody knows about Calcarea carb. This is a polycrest. This we learned about this in first year, and it has been proved, and again and again clinically also it has been proved. To be very, very honest, the reason why I took this case, well, one of the reasons why I took this case today is because I got some requests asking me to take a common remedy this time. So yeah, it can't get more commoner than Calcarea carb. So what I wanted to show you is, because we are doing miasms today, we talked about miasms and we used a lot of miasmatic concepts today. I will show you how Dr. Praful Vijayakar expects us or advises us to read any materia medica. I told this before when we were talking about how we group SORA, syphilis and psychosis, the symptoms. So materia medica, the advice from Dr. Vijayakar is to in fact study materia medica in the form of tri-miasmatic materia medica. So for example, in Calcarea carb, now this is nothing new, nothing from my side. This I took directly from Sir's Genetic Materia Medica book. So what SORA gives, when the Calcarea carb is in soric dominant phase, you will see anxiety. So if the Calcarea carb comes to you with anxiety, then it's probably that she is soric dominant. You will see, because of this anxiety, insecurity, weakness in mind and in body. Then from here we go to psychosis and syphilis. Once the person has gone into psychosis, then she will need support of someone, especially the family. Then she will make herself extremely concerned with money and business. She will start having devotion to God, Guru, spiritualism, and then she starts reading religious books and she starts attending religious discourses. Okay, and then when she has gone into syphilitic dominant miasm, then she would show excess devotion and clinging to God, Guru, spiritualism, etc., clinging to God and religion blindly. So clinging is the key word here. So they even cling to God and religion, sacrificing and neglecting their own family. So these are all I thought these are all a little less explored and less understood symptoms of Calcarea carb. And so I thought I will just simply quickly show you how Dr. Vijayakar advises us to read materia medica. Okay, some of them we have in this child, in this mother, and some of them we don't have in this mother. Now, looking at these symptoms, can you tell me what was the dominant miasm of the mother?
Psychosis.
Absolutely. The mother was psychotic dominant, and the funny thing is the child was born psychotic dominant, because any artificial methods that leads to so what Dr. Vijayakar says is that any artificial methods is leading to a facade, and a facade is always psychosis. So yeah, see how everything goes full circle. Why did the child need the constitutional medicine of the mother? This was the reason. Now, with all this, I gave Calcarea Carb 200, one dose to the child. Now with this one dose thing, I was actually very, very happy and very ready, prepared to repeat this. I even told the mother to keep more doses with her, and which she did. I was looking for the follow-up to see how, but the follow-up went so well that I did not have to repeat it. So I'm going to give you weekly wise follow-up. So week 1, she now started to babble, now started to speak. And she started making gestures to communicate, and the hand flapping reduced by 20%. Now week 2, babbling intensified. Started speaking words. Now she started speaking actual words. Then she started showing her disapproval by shaking head. And then hand flapping reduced to 40%. Week 3, babbling became stronger and stronger, and there were more words that she was saying, and then she was remembering and repeating words, and then hand flapping was completely gone. Now here, I would like to play for you an audio of the child. This was week 3 follow-up. I want you to hear it, and then I'll explain why I wanted to show this to you. So, Dr. Hussain, please could you play the audio? So the mother was giving me the follow-up, and you can hear the child babbling in the background. So if you want, this is only this part of audio I will share in the group for you to hear. It was really cute to watch, to hear that. What the child was doing, and this was in the 3rd week, what the child was doing was that she was babbling, putting some real words in between there and then babbling. It was almost like the speech was trying to burst out of her. It was beautiful to hear. I will share this with you. So what the mother is basically saying in this particular follow-up, in that particular clip, was that now she is calling her also to get her attention. Before, she never did that. She started doing that in week 2, and then week 3, that was more. Okay, now let me share my screen again so we can do the rest of the weeks. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you see my screen? Okay, so then the week 4, yeah, the clarity of words is increased, and the mother also said that the child was behaving like a more grown up, like in the sense that she is reading faces, she is responding in her facial expressions like a little grown up, and then she got her dreams. The child is filling the blanks. So whenever the mother is like singing a rhyme and leaving a blank, the child is actually filling that blank. Now that was month 1, and month 2, the child started making small sentences, like started speaking. The gestures have increased, and the non-verbal, everything that was pointed at, she was looking, the turn of head she was following, all that was happening. Now then month 3, the child started having small conversations. And I had not yet repeated, but I am sure that I will need to repeat it, and I will have to go higher potency. But this is I think we are definitely in the right path with Calcarea Carb. Okay, do you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so before I let you go, again, a word to the wise. I just wanted to say today, with today's presentation, we talked about miasms, right? And I also gave the history of miasms, all our masters and everyone. Now, the thing is, everybody used miasms in different way in their analysis. Some even did not use it, some actually used it, but they didn't believe they used it, and some used only miasmatic prescription. That is, I'm not saying yes or no, good or bad. That is not my place to say anything like that. But my ambition here is basically that the decision to use it or not use it should come from us. We should understand it and then decide, make a conscious decision that we don't want to use it. That is fine. But we should not decide that we will not use it because we don't understand it. Basically, our decision should come from the center of knowledge, but not center of avoidance. It is not just this, but any part of the philosophy, any homeopathic philosophy, I really strongly believe that it is okay to challenge, like Kent did. It is okay to challenge. It is okay to do something differently. That is completely fine, but that should come from the center of knowledge. We should know what we are doing, but just because maybe we don't understand it, it sounds daunting, it sounds very, very difficult, we will not we will not try to understand it, and we will just not use it. I just think that is not the way to go. Okay, are you with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so before I go and before I let you go, that finished my presentation, but please give me just 1 minute to do my dedications. Firstly, I dedicate my today's session to 2 Dr. Ruchis. One is Dr. Ruchi Shirudkar and second is Dr. Ruchi Jain. Now both these doctors are homeopathic doctors, and they have very different ways of working. There is no doubt about that. But what they both have in commonality is extensive amount of knowledge and willingness to share. And I learn every day from these doctors, only part of which is homeopathy. Now, secondly, thank you to all you doctors, and also all your doctors who has been giving me suggestions, asking me, giving me requests, and also asking me to come and present a case. It's really motivating, and I can see the time again. It has been, as much as I tried, it is still a very long presentation, but you're still here with me, still trying to learn. I know I come also very rarely, but you still, whenever I come, you welcome me with open mind and open heart. So thank you very, very much for that. And then last, but not at the very least, not at all the least, deep gratitude to Dr. Praful Vijayakar, who gave us this method where, he basically gave us this very logical way to show us where to look and how to hit the target. He made it very, very clear, the target and how to hit it. And then deep gratitude also to one of my teachers in Mineral Kingdom and Periodic Table, Dr. Ram Saini sir. And deep, deep gratitude, I can never express this enough, to my teacher in Sensation Method, Dr. Shashikant Shinde. And as usual, very special thank you to Dr. Hussain Mulani for his habit of not taking my no whenever, especially when it comes to these presentations and everything. Okay, so time for questions. If anybody of you have questions.
Ma'am, in every autism case, family history, mother history is compulsory, or we should look at the behavior pattern of the children also?
We should definitely compulsorily look at mother's pregnancy history. We may find something there, we may not find something there, but looking is a definite.
Yes, that is definite, but is it compulsory to take the behavior history, behavior complaints of the children also?
Yes, definitely. Like, for example, let's say, if the mother did not have that fundamental cause in her, then I would have completely approached this case differently. I would have gone for the constitutional of the child, like many of you doctors did. You took the rubrics of the child and went for the constitution of the child. That is what I would have done if I had not found the fundamental cause, if I not have been, because basically I'm guided by the aphorism, and then I looked for the fundamental cause, I found it there, and that's the path I took. But if it was not that, then we would take a different path. Definitely the child's constitution.
Ma'am, you also ruled out the effect of vaccination even, because even that's a major cause.
Yes. Look, the thing is that I did not find, like I said, never well since cause. If I had found it, I would have definitely taken it. That is also something that we need to always prioritize. In the case, if we get this and this and this, what is first to take, what is next to take, what is the next to take. Now, in this case, I did not find that the child was vaccinated excess. There was no never well since. There was no ailments factor from there, but I found a strong fundamental cause from the mother. So this is how I approached this case.
Ma'am, actually,
Ma'am.
just want to add up one thing. In this case, it was very fortunate, like the mother is in a wealth state, like the husband was good, the maiden part was also good. The effect was very less, not up to the borderline even. Otherwise, the effect have been higher up in the child, I think.
So, Dr. Samina, I don't know if I missed something that you said in the end there. You said the effect would have been.
Actually, I
Yeah.
want to say this part, like the mother was fortunate, or like we could say the mother was in wealth, because the maiden side and the husband side was very soothing one, like to help healing. Otherwise, the effect on the child would have been above borderline. This is not really touched the borderline even of autism cycle, like the scoring.
Yeah. This is that is the reason why the pediatrician has. I guess that is the reason why he diagnosed it to be low to medium risk of autism. So, look, the thing is, you said you raise a really interesting point. Now let us explore that a little. You said that the mother had this, mother had this support, which is true. But let us see, why was it even that the mother, Calcarea calves are, they have everything in excess. They are overprotected, overloved, overnourished, overambitious, overworking, overcautious, over everything, industries, everything they have in excess. You have a rubric in Calcarea Carb, ailments from caresses and caressing. So the thing is that the mother was sent to her parents' home, who were extremely loving, and she was completely going to be taken care of there. That was the main reason why she was sent. Then why should it have affected her? It is because she is Calcarea Carb. So the thing is that what gives rise to what? Again, it goes back to the concept of miasms. What is it that is giving rise? This, it's almost like if you switch on the light in the balcony, switch on the light in the balcony, the light in the living room doesn't go off. Only the light in the balcony goes off, right? Sometimes it is like we are confined to this play of miasms. It is a fascinating world. I mean, you keep thinking about it, it opens up a really big, lot of circle of events like you raise here. It comes to play.
Definitely, she was not at receiving end from the maiden side and receiving end from the like husband side. Thank you so much. Nice case.
You're welcome.
और रिस्पेक्टेड डॉक्टर्स जिन्होंने भी हमारे साथ एनालिसिस किया, सुबह से अब तक रहे, आप सभी का बहुत बहुत शुक्रगुजार हूँ मैं। सर कुछ बोलना
Thank you,
चाहेंगे?
ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. It was very,
Thank
very.
you.
I thought of mollusk, but I could not relate with the animal kingdom. That was a big confusion for me. I got it clear.
Absolutely, yeah.
आप सभी से रिक्वेस्ट है, आप बढ़ चढ़ कर हिस्सा लीजिए, HSH के प्लेटफॉर्म पे आइए, अपने केसेस प्रेजेंट कीजिए, जिन्होंने भी पेड कोर्सेस अटेंड किए हैं और जो भी SHS के प्लेटफॉर्म पे फ्री लर्निंग भी कर रहे हैं, उनको भी रिक्वेस्ट है, अगर आपके डिफरेंट थॉट प्रोसेस हैं, अगर आप किसी भी मेथोडोलॉजी से प्रैक्टिस करते हैं तो आप आगे आए। HSH आपके लिए पाबंदियां नहीं लगाएगा, आप अपने थॉट प्रोसेस प्रेजेंट करें, आप किस हिसाब से प्रैक्टिस करते हैं, किस तरह आप केसेस ट्रीट करते हैं, या आप खुल के बता सकते हैं। जिस तरह श्रावंती मैम आ रही है, तो आप सभी को मैं वेलकम करता हूं आने वाले दिनों के लिए। प्लीज आप आए और एक हिस्सा बने HSS का। थैंक यू सो मच एंड थैंक यू श्रावंती मैम once again.
Thank you everyone. Thank you.